The ghost below. One submarine enters. 6 days later, nobody knows where it is. February 18, 2026, 1432 UTC, the Bosphorus Strait, Turkish waters connecting the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. Russian submarine Krasnodar, Project 636.3 improved kilo class, diesel electric, silent, lethal, length 73 meters, displacement 3,950 tons submerged, crew 52, armament, caliber cruise missiles, torpedoes, mines. The submarine transits south through the Bosphorus. NATO observers photograph from shore. Turkish authorities monitor as required by Montreux Convention. Standard procedure. Russia maintains Mediterranean squadron operating from Tartus, Syria. Submarine rotations happen regularly. Nothing unusual, except this time Krasnodar disappears. Not destroyed, not surfaced, just gone. 6 days of silence. Zero contact. NATO loses track completely. The Mediterranean Sea, 2.5 million square kilometers, average depth 1,500 meters, perfect hunting ground for a submarine that doesn't want to be found. One submarine, one sea. 28 nations asking the same question, where is it? This is Red Sea Doctrine extending beyond the Red Sea, because maritime threats respect no boundaries. The hunt begins. February 19th. NATO Maritime Command tracks Krasnodar heading southwest from the Bosphorus. Initial trajectory suggests route towards Syria. Expected, predictable, safe assumption. P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft from Sigonella Air Base, Sicily, maintained surveillance. Sonobuoys deployed across projected route. Underwater listening posts activate. Satellites task for periscope detection. For 96 hours, NATO tracks the submarine. Not continuously. Diesel-electric boats are too quiet for that. But periodic contacts enough to maintain situational awareness. February 23rd, ZO 317 UTC, last confirmed contact. Position 180 nautical miles north of Benghazi, Libya. Krasnodar diving deep after brief snorkel to recharge batteries, then nothing. The submarine vanishes from all sensors. No acoustic signature, no periscope sightings, no communications intercepts. 24 hours pass. 48, 72, still nothing. NATO commanders face uncomfortable questions. Did the submarine sink? Catastrophic failure, all hands lost? Or is it operating with perfect stealth? And if operating, doing what? Where? One submarine in 2.5 million square kilometers of water. Would you find it before it strikes? This is the nightmare scenario submariners train for, and surface fleets fear. According to maritime security protocols, modern diesel-electric submarines running on battery power are nearly undetectable. No engine noise, no heat signature, minimal magnetic anomaly. They become acoustic holes in the ocean. The Mediterranean hosts critical infrastructure, undersea cables carrying internet traffic between Europe, Africa, and Asia, natural gas pipelines from North Africa to Italy, NATO naval facilities, commercial shipping lanes. Any of these could be targets. But for what purpose? Surveillance, sabotage, intimidation, or is Krasnodar simply transiting to Syria, maintaining radio silence to test NATO response capabilities? The uncertainty is the weapon. Not knowing is more destabilizing than knowing. February 25th, NATO convenes emergency maritime security meeting. Participants: U.S. 6th Fleet, Italian Navy, French Marine Nationale, Greek Navy, Turkish Naval Forces, Spanish Armada. Subject: locate one Russian submarine. Assets deployed: 12 maritime patrol aircraft, 8 frigates with towed sonar arrays, 4 submarines for underwater search, satellites retasked for optical and radar coverage, underwater surveillance network activated throughout Mediterranean. The search area is massive. If Krasnodar traveled at 6 knots submerged for 6 days, the potential search radius exceeds 700 nautical miles. That's over 1.5 million square kilometers. Finding one submarine in that area is like finding a whisper in a hurricane. But the search isn't just about finding Krasnodar. It's about demonstrating NATO can track and counter Russian submarines. That deterrence works. That the Mediterranean isn't Russia's playground. Except right now, NATO can't find the submarine. And that's a serious problem. Who controls these waters? A. NATO with its superior numbers. B. Russia with its submarine. C. Nobody, because nobody knows where the threat is. Right now, the answer is C. And that's terrifying for surface fleets. The theories. Intelligence analysts develop scenarios. What is Krasnodar doing during 6 days of invisibility? Theory 1. Transit to Syria. The submarine is simply traveling to Tartus, maintaining strict emission control. No communications, no snorkeling in areas with overhead surveillance. Pure stealth transit, low risk, low reward. Doesn't explain why NATO lost contact so completely. Theory 2. Intelligence collection. Krasnodar positioned near undersea cables, recording electronic communications, mapping NATO underwater sensors. Classic spy mission, medium risk, high intelligence value, but 6 days seems excessive for cable tapping. Theory 3. Mine laying. The submarine could have deployed naval mines in strategic locations. Shipping lanes, harbor approaches, choke points. Mines activate on command or timer. Deniable, devastating, high risk, massive strategic impact. Theory 4. Rehearsal for sabotage. Krasnodar practicing approaches to critical infrastructure, pipelines, cables, naval facilities, not attacking yet, just demonstrating capability. Psychological operation. Shows vulnerability without firing shots. Theory 5. Tracking NATO vessels, following American, French, or Italian warships. Learning their acoustic signatures, testing their anti-submarine defenses. Preparation for future conflict. Each theory is plausible. Each has different implications, and nobody knows which is correct. February 27th, reports indicate possible sighting off Crete. Greek Navy frigate detects transient contact. Brief, ambiguous. Could be Krasnodar, could be biologic, could be ocean noise. Investigation launched. Contact not reacquired. Same day, undersea cable monitoring shows anomalous activity near Sicily. Traffic patterns disrupted for 14 minutes. Cause unknown. Could be technical glitch. Could be submarine surveillance. Italian Navy deploys ASW helicopters. No contact. That night, Turkish intelligence reports communications intercept suggesting Russian submarine activity near Cyprus. Location unconfirmed. Pattern unclear. 3 possible locations in one day. Either Krasnodar is moving incredibly fast, unlikely for a diesel boat trying to stay hidden, or NATO is seeing ghosts, jumping at shadows, or multiple Russian submarines are operating in the Mediterranean, and only one was reported transiting the Bosphorus. That possibility keeps NATO admirals awake at night. The psychological impact. The disappearance achieves strategic effects without firing a weapon. Commercial shipping companies receive threat assessments. Submarine activity elevated. Risk to vessels increased. Insurance premiums rise by 40% for Mediterranean transits. Some shippers delay voyages, some reroute. Economic impact begins immediately. NATO naval exercises in the region are postponed. Too risky to conduct operations when a hostile submarine's location is unknown. Training delayed. Readiness affected. Undersea cable operators increase security monitoring. Bandwidth reduced on critical links. Internet traffic slows across southern Europe and North Africa. Connectivity issues emerge. Public doesn't know why. But the reason is one submarine nobody can find. Allied nations question NATO's maritime domain awareness capabilities. If one Russian submarine can vanish for nearly a week, how effective is the alliance's ASW network? Trust erodes. This is asymmetric warfare perfected. One 300 million submarine creates doubt across an entire theater. No shots fired, no casualties, just presence, or the fear of presence. Red Sea Doctrine principle. The submarine you can't find is more dangerous than the one you can, because imagination fills the gap where knowledge should be. Is this the start of a wider undersea war? Comment Y or N. The Discovery, March 1st, 1147 UTC, Tartus Naval Facility, Syria. Krasnodar surfaces in Syrian territorial waters, 6 days and 7 hours after last NATO contact. The submarine completes its transit. Crew disembarks for rest and resupply. Russian Ministry of Defense releases statement. Submarine Krasnodar successfully completed planned rotation to Mediterranean squadron. Transit conducted with full compliance to international maritime law. No explanation for 6 days of silence. No acknowledgement of NATO search efforts. No comment on route taken. Just a bland statement confirming the submarine reached its destination. NATO commanders exhale. Then they start asking harder questions. Where was Krasnodar for 6 days? What route did it take? Why couldn't NATO tracking find it? What was the submarine doing during the transit? Did it conduct any operations? Russian officials smile and say nothing. The answers remain classified, probably forever. But analysis of the timeline reveals disturbing patterns. February 25th, anomaly near Sicily. Krasnodar could have been there. February 27th, possible contact near Crete. Submarine could have transited that area. Communications intercept near Cyprus. Timing matches. If Krasnodar took southern route, the submarine might have covered over 1,100 nautical miles underwater. Mapping, listening, testing, demonstrating, and NATO couldn't track it reliably for 90% of the journey. That's a major intelligence failure, or a major Russian intelligence success, depending on perspective. The aftermath. March 3rd, U.S. 6th Fleet Commander briefs Pentagon. Subject: Lessons from Krasnodar Incident. Key findings. Current ASW coverage inadequate for Mediterranean basin. Russian submarine technology more capable than assumed. NATO underwater surveillance network has gaps. Response time to subsurface threats too slow. Recommendations: increase P8 patrol frequency. Deploy additional sonobuoy fields. Upgrade underwater listening posts. Enhance satellite monitoring. Improve information sharing among allies. Total cost of improvements, estimated $2.3 billion over 3 years. That's what one submarine's 6-day disappearance costs. Meanwhile, Russian Navy celebrates. State media calls the transit successful demonstration of Russian naval capabilities in strategic waters. Photos of Krasnodar crew receiving medals. Commander promoted. The message is clear. Russian submarines can operate in NATO's backyard. They can evade detection. They can arrive at any time. And NATO might not know until it's too late. Commercial shipping companies calculate new risks. Mediterranean routes now carry submarine threat premium. Costs rise. Some contracts get renegotiated. European defense ministers face questions. How can NATO lose a submarine for 6 days? What if next time it's not a transit but an attack? What if next time there are multiple submarines? The answers aren't reassuring, because the truth is simple. The ocean is vast, submarines are small, and detection is hard. Always has been, always will be. But admitting that vulnerability is politically difficult. So instead, governments promise improvements. More funding, better technology, enhanced cooperation. Whether that actually solves the problem remains to be seen. What breaks next? NATO's underwater surveillance network, Allied confidence, or the illusion of maritime domain awareness? The doctrine lesson. Sea Doctrine teaches, control of the sea isn't just about surface fleets, it's about what moves underneath. Submarines are the ultimate sea denial weapons. They threaten shipping, they threaten warships, they threaten infrastructure. And most importantly, they threaten certainty. When a submarine is present or might be present, everything changes. Convoys need escorts. Warships need screening. Exercises get canceled. Trade routes get reassessed. The mere possibility of subsurface threat imposes costs on the enemy. That's why submarine forces are so valuable, not just for what they can destroy, for what they make adversaries worry about. The Krasnodar incident proves diesel-electric submarines remain strategically relevant in 2026. Despite decades of ASW technology development, despite satellite surveillance and acoustic monitoring, despite networked maritime domain awareness, one well-operated submarine can still disappear, can still move undetected, can still accomplish its mission while the enemy searches in vain. That's a sobering reality for surface-centric naval powers. The Long Shadow, Krasnodar, remains in Tartus, operating with Mediterranean Squadron, conducting patrols, training, waiting. But every NATO exercise now includes heightened ASW measures. Every commercial transit through the Mediterranean calculates submarine risk. Every undersea cable operator monitors for interference. One submarine's 6-day vanishing act changed operational assumptions throughout the theater. The ghost below is now a permanent consideration. Russian Navy learned valuable lessons. NATO's surveillance gaps, response times, search patterns, all intelligence for future operations. They know they can move submarines through the Mediterranean with reduced detection risk. That knowledge shifts the balance of power. NATO learned different lessons. Their ASW network isn't as comprehensive as believed. Russian submarine capabilities are better than estimated. Complacency is dangerous. Those lessons come with budget requests and capability gaps. Will NATO close those gaps before the next submarine vanishes? Will Russia exploit the vulnerability? Will the Mediterranean become a submarine battleground? These questions define maritime security for the coming decade. Subscribe to Red Sea Doctrine, where sea power decides everything. The next submarine is already out there. The next transit is already being planned. The next time NATO might not even detect the entry. Understanding naval warfare means understanding what you can't see. Stay informed. Stay ahead. Red Sea Doctrine, trade routes, missiles, and war, above and below the surface.